Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. What do we make of today? What do we make of yesterday? And even what do we make of the past week? How will we go on as a nation now known to be commandeered by criminals from both major political parties? I mean, the DOJ, FBI, and CIA regularly thumb their collective noses at you and me, the people, the founding fathers of this nation, had intended to keep our republic in order through our voting rights, if by nothing else. Look at how many times the FBI, DOJ, and CIA have been known to have committed treasonous crimes and they never came clean. Little did any of the 1776 crowd know, but we would eventually be overcome by unelected bureaucrats brought about by well-intentioned presidents in the 1930s and 1940s. I believe it is safe to say, viewers, that any time a constitutional right is breached in the name of the national interest or to prevent cataclysmic financial collapse of society as a whole, it is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. As we have witnessed in our short lifetimes, any time the government takes something from the overall populace, we never get it back, and the necrotizing cancer that underlies creeps and spreads until it becomes a gangrenous limb that requires amputation. Look to the Patriot Act under GWB and the subsequent things that happened to Edward Snowden for telling all for reference. Sorry if that word picture of the gangrenous limb is a bit gory, but there really is no other way of putting it, folks. We handed the teenager the car keys and he sped full ahead into a concrete block wall. We have only seen even more of the underlying necrosis exposed this past week when video was widely released that showed recorded content with Jeffrey Epstein being interviewed in 2010 for a court deposition. In the interview, Mr. Epstein is asked directly whether he ever had personal relationship with Donald Trump, to which Epstein replied that he had, quote, socialized with Trump. Next, in the same video, Epstein was specifically asked, have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18? Epstein then tellingly replies, though I'd like to answer that question, at least today I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir. Wow, folks, just wow. Now, there are a couple of ways that could be interpreted. Let us at least consider the overall weight of all mounting evidence in entirety in our interpretation of it. Is the president possibly guilty of unspeakable crimes with Epstein at his now infamous island? I hate to think it, but let the facts speak for themselves. If he is innocent, then he has nothing to be afraid of and needs to open the archives for all to finally see. Next piece of potentially incriminating evidence against one Donald Trump in this now insane Jeffrey Epstein big top circus. He was specifically asked by a reporter yesterday, would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell? To which the beleaguered president astonishingly replied, it's something I haven't thought about. I am allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about. Another wow. We now have the 47th President of the United States stating on national TV that he essentially is uncertain whether or not he would ever pardon the prison sentence of a convicted trafficker in the most hidden and covered up story of the present time, if not in the entire history of this nation. Maxwell had perjury charges against her, though she was ultimately convicted on heavier charges, so it is evident that honesty is not her strong suit. And what do you think are the chances she spills the beans on any top-level bureaucrats close to the Trump administration now that he has telegraphed his possible intentions to her? She is a smart woman, and no way, no how is she going to mess up her chances for freedom in front of a congressional investigative committee. Also consider that she is at real risk of potentially losing her life via, you know what happened to her former boyfriend while incarceration, while similar to how her boyfriend did actually meet his end if she snitches. This mess has vile top-level governmental corruption written all over it, does it not? Friends and colleagues, it only gets crazier from here. Today it makes the news rounds that Epstein, a strongly suspected intelligence operative linked to the Israeli government, was mostly used as a money laundering conduit for bureaucratic finance abuses at the DOJ and HUD in the 1990s. Wow, just wow, it gets crazier by the minute. Supposedly trillions of dollars were skimmed off from DOJ and HUD during that time and funneled to secret causes in Israel and the Middle East, among others. It remains to be shown to this day how an uneducated man originally took a position as a math teacher in New York City school system despite no teaching degree whatsoever, along with how he eventually amassed a fortune of $600 million by the time of his death in 2019. Never a single FBI inquiry, never an IRS audit. Folks, this was a protected individual at the uppermost ranks of the U.S. government and those of Israel also. Make no mistake about it. So now, kids and cousins, after Trump originally called all of us who demanded complete transparency and justice for the myriad Epstein victims fools and, quote, blinded by the Democratic hoax, we're hearing different stories in the last week from the president himself. In fact, through various interviews he has given, it is now known that, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus, or should I say, there is in fact a list of all Epstein clients. Wow! Who could have ever imagined? I thought it was all a Democratic hoax. My viewers, I believe it is safe to say at this point that we have all been played by criminals from all angles of the political spectrum, and they are finally seeing that we are not letting up or falling for the ruse. Nope, not buying what they are selling for a single minute. In case you might not have noticed, this puppet will not let up until Trump, Bondi, Patel, and Bongino come completely clean with every last bit of the evidence from the Epstein files. If that somehow incriminates anyone at the uppermost levels of government or world commerce, so be it. Let the chips fall where they may. If we as a people ever get to a place where we are complacent and accepting of being lied to by supposed leaders of government and industry, then we will have been successful in building our own prison and get what we justly deserve. So what is the end game of the current administration when it comes to coming clean on the potential money laundering and blackmailing operations of Mr. Jeffrey Epstein? Well, this remains to be seen. We have seen since the entire load of fecal matter hit the fan a couple weeks ago, this president double, triple, and even quadrupled down on his original false claims that there was nothing to be seen here. Only after commentators like myself and myriad other journalists continued to hound the president, Attorney General, and FBI Director did any cracks appear in their entire false facade. I am thankful for people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Jesse on Fire, Brian Tyler Cohen, Glenn Beck, and multiple others like myself who have not let up on the gas pedal regarding this very important issue one little bit. The only way we're going to ever see these filthy villains brought to true justice they are due is by continuing to call out the BS of the presidency and this administration every time they attempt to play us for fools. And that, folks, is not something this puppet ever saw coming on January 20th of this year. I'm very sad to say. Mr. Trump has done some good things for this nation in his time in office, but hiding and covering up for filthy offenders is not one of them. Good night, my loyal viewers, and sleep well.